Right, so we are live. So I just want to thank you very much, mate, for taking the time out to sit with me. As we just spoke off air, that you've got a load of chaos going on, busy household, and
Yeah.
um. So I just want to obviously find out where it all started. Like, where was the inspiration for doing custom bike shows? Obviously, for those that don't know, that you are the organizer for Kickback Custom Bike Show.
Um, it all started many years ago, about sort of 14 years ago. Um, I was I was a member of a motorcycle. It wasn't a gang or a group or a club. It was unofficial, but there's a whole bunch of us just on choppers riding around the south coast of England, and having great fun at weekends. Going to sort of invited though, going to fetes and garden fairs and stuff like that. And there'd be like 30 of us on these really noisy choppers making a hell of a noise. And it was great fun. And the kids would love it as we rocked up and stuff like that. So we did that throughout this summer of about 14, 15 years ago. This is with some great chums, Cy Harris and Carter and the lads at Attitude Cycles down in Southampton. Do you
Yep.
know them?
Yep. Well,
All
I
right.
don't know them personally, but their work's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was mucking about with them, and I asked Simon to make me a chopper after reading a few of Hunter Thompson's books, about living and being with the Hells Angels, of course. And he had some fantastic photographs in his old book from the 60s, and I saw a particular chopper that looked great, really skinny, stripped back with knobbly tires and beach bars. And I pointed at it and said, Simon, can you build me one like that? And at the time, I was just riding around on a crappy sort of sporty. So he spent sort of 3 or 4 months doing this and having great fun with it. And it was excellent. And I loved it. So I was riding around on that. So there's a whole group of us sort of based around Attitude Cycles in Southampton, going around the New Forest, causing carnage. It was brilliant fun. And then and at the same time, I was a trade event organizer. That was my sort of, day job. And there was one weekend where we were sitting around in a cafe in this bike shop in Bournemouth with nothing to do one weekend, and they said, "Oh, look, Lorne, you're an event organizer. Why don't you put on a custom bike show?" So I sort of looked at it and thought about it and thought about it and looked at it and thought, yeah, it could work, I suppose. I think at the time, the only indoor event of its kind was in London at Ali Pali, which doesn't happen anymore. So that was the only event of its kind. And I thought, well, we could look at doing something. And the weather was so rubbish all the time. So I thought it's got to be indoors. We've got all these really sort of priceless motorcycles. Excuse me a second. It's right. So that's the builder going. Thank you. Fucking hell. Anyway, so where was I?
About Ali Pali and priceless bikes on the indoor
custom
events.
It was pretty obvious that it needed to be indoors because we'd been to a few sort of outdoor custom shows in airfields and all that sort of stuff, and they're great, but if it rains, you've had it. It's the end of it, really. So I thought, we're going to do it, got to do it properly, got to do it indoors. So then I went and booked the Bournemouth International Centre in Bournemouth, and it cost me several arms and legs, God, no, 50 grand, whatever it is. And I thought, if we're going to do it, we might as well just do it. So I had good support from the bike shop where we were having this discussion was Battistini's down in Bournemouth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a chopper shop down there. And it all started from there, really. We did a photo shoot with some crazy bikes on the pier at Bournemouth to promote the event. Got some sponsors, got a load of bikes involved, got in touch with the AMD World Championship and became an affiliate of that. So the winning bikes would be flown over to Sturgis in America and all that sort of malarkey. Spent a year or so getting sponsors and traders on board, getting all the bikes on board and putting the show on. And it started from there.
And what year was this then, Lorne?
I'm trying to remember. I think it's about 2010, something like that.
So it's still, in comparisons to shows, it's still actually quite a young show then, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite young, really. But in that time, I've seen loads and loads of shows coming and going.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and loads of magazines coming and going as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. I was only talking to my friend the other day. He's still got the monthly subscription for, annual subscription to Backstreet Heroes, and he reads through them and then brings them over to me. And I've been collecting them because obviously the plan with my podcast is I want to start doing them live, so I want to start doing them at events, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
lay the magazines out, kind of like as a to get people to just like want to stand and just look through them. Do you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
to kind of take it back to some form of human aspect of paper and faces and talking, and do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So so the magazines, so the magazines were important. They were behind the show and we'd advertise in them, and then the photographers and editors would come along, and of course it would work quite well with either Backstreet Heroes or 100% Biker or Built magazine or whatever. The shows were a platform for what's being built in this country at that time. So of course, if the editors and magazine photographers and stuff would come along, it would be content for their magazines for the next sort of 6 months or so. And as the magazines were promoting the bikes or reviewing the bikes that are on show, that was also an extra little bit of publicity for the event, and it worked nicely hand in hand, and it still sort of does to an extent. But so the event after Bournemouth, which financially was a disaster, but was really good fun. It was enough to make me think, well, we might as well do it again and again. So it almost became a kind of road show for the next few years, where we took to places like Bewley, Donington, London, Olympia, and another one in London in Chelsea's football ground, which is like an event venue, and Stoneleigh Park, Birmingham Custard Factory, all over the sort of place, really, almost like a road show. And sometimes it would be a 2-day show, sometimes a 1-day event. Cheltenham Town Hall, Cheltenham Racecourse, Gloucester Prison, Shrewsbury Prison, and this year now we're doing the sort of, I think it's the 28th edition of the event. Is the next one, which is in April at the Three County Showground in Malvern, in Worcestershire. So it's a 2-dayer. That's the 13th and 14th of April. So I'm in the middle of organising all the arrangements for that.
So what made you want to kind of turn it into a bit of a road show, in a respect, like, where did that idea come from? Just because you wanted to kind of get across the country, or?
Yeah, I think it was really. We did 2 shows at Bewley many years ago, and then it got in a huge marquee, a massive marquee about the size of a football field. But unfortunately, it rained for a week before both shows that we did, and it was just too wet. It's like a muddy, bloody quagmire, even in a marquee. So we got out of there, and then I thought we need a proper big building. And the next thing was Backstreet Heroes did do one show at Donington and didn't do it again. So I took that over. I took over the reins of that sort of thing at Donington Park. Did it, I think, twice there, and then they knocked the building down. Or in fact, they've turned it into a car park for unsold cars. We have all these, you have all these cars stocked up in airports and stuff like that they can't sell. Yeah, it's full of that. So it's now not an event venue. So we couldn't use Donington anymore. So we moved to Stoneleigh Park. And we had the event there for quite a few years. And then they decided to almost double their tenancy fee. So that meant either I charge double price for everybody to get in, which I didn't want to do. And so we moved around and then just hopped around a bit, really. We're now falling in love with the one at Malvern because it's a brilliant venue. It's a great ride out through the Malvern Hills to get there. People can camp. There's loads of space. It's all indoors. There's food. There's car parking, an abundance of free car parking, which is ever so rare these days when you go to an event. You go to that show at the NEC, which is a magnificent show at the NEC, or maybe used to be, people would say, and it costs you, what was it, 15 quid to park the car alone, and then you've got to get a bus.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's...
So you've got to think of it, got to think, how much are people prepared to pay? It should really be a lot, it's only £13. What, you can't even get 2 pints of that these days, can you? I don't know.
No, I don't drink, so I don't know.
Yeah. So it's 13 quid, and you can spend all weekend, if you want to look at it, 250 bikes, There's going to be 100 customs and about 150 classics. And they also staged the national championships, like the Builders Builder Awards.
Yeah.
So there's 8 different categories: best woman builder, best young builder under 30s, to get the youngsters into it. That was a sort of whole idea, really, of Kickback in the early days, was to get younger people into motorbiking, because of course, it's doing the dealers heads in. They just can't sell enough bikes to youngsters these days, because they're sort of just on their phones the whole time. They're going to be going to college, university, on the phone all the time, meeting a woman, having kids. That's the end of it. They've lost them.
Do you not think also that the prices of bikes are what some people are struggling with? I mean, I've only ever been able to build bikes off the generosity of my friends. Like the ZX10 that I was talking about off air. I nagged my mate until he gave me the bike because it was just sat in his garden. The reality is I am that guy that's got a wife and 2 kids.
Yeah,
I
of course.
can't afford to go and buy a bike.
I don't know about the price of bikes. If you want something bad enough, you will be able to buy it. People go around buying stupid cars at stupid prices. People drive around in battery cars, don't they? They're called electric, I think, cars, but they're battery.
Stupid.
I don't know how much they are. I don't know where people are getting the money from, right? But they are. People wear watches, don't they, that are £1,000 to £5,000. People go skiing, sending their kids down a mountain. They can afford to do all these sort of things. It's amazing. If you can afford to buy a bike, or if you can't afford to buy a bike, you'll find a way, if you want it bad enough, to get it. And of course, yes, it would be much better if they were cheaper. And there are some cheap ones out there. You can get them cheap. I think the main problem is the kids these days can't be bothered to go through the rigmarole of getting their license. It's just a nightmare. So I think the dealerships out there should say to the kids, look, this is the bike you can ride now. All right. Then you can have a 125, and we'll help you through the process of the getting your full license. All right.
That's a good idea.
Help you. All right. And all it's going to cost you is 5 or 10 or whatever quid a month. All right. And at the end of it, you'll be able to buy this bike. And at the end of it, when you pass your test, all right, you'll be able to buy this bike if you want to. And just to process up, dealers ought to do a little bit more, I think. That's what I would do if I was a dealer.
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea. I mean, and at the end of the day, it wouldn't be hard for them to add it into the cost. I'm guessing most of the people will be buying them on finance, so it wouldn't be hard.
It's all on. It's got to be on finance. I mean, people, the kids these days, they've got money. Some of them haven't got money. Some have got money. They've all got a phone. How much are phones, man? How much are Macs and laptops and stuff? So everything's expensive. No one's got any money, but there are priorities, and you always have a holiday if you can. You always buy a motorbike or 2 or 3, and then eventually tell the missus, or the other way around.
Mate, I know that one. Because I've just been, I say, for me, I'm well aware of how lucky I've been through the generosity of my friends. I've got 4 bikes that I've either not paid for. To be honest, I haven't actually handed over any cash for any 4 of them. I've been really, really lucky.
Yeah, you're a nightmare.
Oh, mate, honestly, I've been so lucky with them. I got an 87 ZX10 that I ride. I got an 81 XJ 550. I think it's 81 or 83 550 with a 600 motor in it. I got a CB125 Super Dream, the ugly one.
Excellent. That's right.
And then I got a 600 Bandit as well, and only one that's on the road is the ZX10, and that puts me through my paces trying to keep that thing on road.
Well, I mean, I think so. Going back to sort of getting the kids into it, they need to get through their license easily, and people can't be bothered to do anything these days. I can't be bothered to walk to the post office. So you got all these people can't be bothered to do stuff. There's no way they're going to bother to take their test. It's too complicated. They need a dealership or someone that can say, look, I'll help you all the way through the process. All right. You commit with some cash so that you will end up with this bike. And if they show the kids the bikes in the showrooms, it's a good way of getting it's a good incentive, and it's a good dreamland for them for the kids to go, that's a fantastic bike. I really want that more than anything on the planet. If that's not the case, then the next thing is how I got into sort of bike. I'm not a builder. That's why I organise shows. I provide a platform for everybody else. But my first moped was a Push Maxi when I was about 14.
Oh yeah,
and I took it apart, took all the bits off that weren't needed, put it all back together again. There's a few bits of a carburetor left over, which my brother-in-law helped me with. And we got to go. Suddenly it was a green laner, and I was riding it around, and it was great fun. Then I bought a Fizzy. Then I bought a few more Japanese bikes, which I loved back in the 70s sort of thing. And I think that's what got me into bikes was either tweaking them or, mucking about with them, making them look a bit better, handle a bit worse, probably go a bit faster, but they ended up going slower and all that. And you need to tweak them and fuck ass about with them, I think, to get into it in the first. And also, I think the other thing that got me into bikes, to be honest, was my brother-in-law used to take me to Silverstone and all the bike racing. So I was lucky enough to see Sheen and Roberts racing together, and wow. that was quite exciting. That was something else, to be honest. So that got me into it as well. So it's just, how can you get kids into it? So Kickback's 13 sort of quid to get in advance. Kids under 12 go free. So if they go with your dad or your mum to the show and take the kids, they're going to be able to see bikes, get inspired, excited and motivated. Maybe there's a stunt show so they can see crazy nutters doing stupid things like no-handed wheelies, these stunt boys do, falling off the bikes, having a crash and all that. And the kids love all that. And they're starting the bikes up, the smell of it and the noise and all that. Otherwise, what more can you do?
Well, that's it, isn't it? And I think also, like, the government, I don't think the government want us on the road, and I think that shows as well. So I grew up in Spain, and like over there, bikes are still massive. I mean, the old bill in Spain, they move over to let you past, and the local village I lived in, they built us a mini motor track. When the mini motors became a massive scene again in the mid 2000s, they tarmacked a piece of land and just said stay off the road, and it's so noticeable over there. There's a reason why Dorna is based in Spain. The FIM is based in Spain, in the racing side of it. Obviously, the weather supports it, but I think that, to me personally, I just think that the government don't want us on the road.
No, well, we can't get. You said we can't get political, so unfortunately, I can't make any comments about government or Brexit.
No, well, true.
It'd be wonderful to be able to. I was looking at doing a show in Spain. It would be lovely to do somewhere where it could actually be outside and you'd be safe. I think there used to be one there called Mentalica or something. Do you remember that one?
Well, you got I mean, obviously up on the is it? I believe it's the Pyrenees, or I can't remember exactly where, but you've got Wheels and Waves, and you got all the Spanish builders come over the mountains and go in. But I mean, Spain. I grew up at Andalusia, Costa del Sol, and there was always shows. I mean, obviously, and then I was 4 hours from Faro. Got to go to Faro once with my dad. First bike I built was an 83 GP Suzuki GP 125. I built that with my dad, and then set off. Didn't make it on the bike. Broke down. Left the bike in some random person's garage, and I was lucky enough to come back, and it was still there. Jumped on the back of my dad's single seat 1400 Intruder. All I had was the tent roll mats to sit on. And by this time, we were already like 3 hours late. So my dad's obviously I think we're doing about 160, 170 kilometers an hour. I don't know what that is in miles, but we're just literally because we were like running like 4 or 5 hours late, trying to mess around with my bike. But an incredible experience, and that for me, I was 17 at the time, and something I'd never forget, And that's
that.
I think we're running out of daylight in here in your camera, mate. I'm slowly losing visual.
I'm in the car, you see, it's getting dark, so just put the light on. Can you? I'm
still there. I can see you now, mate. I can see you now. Hopefully, don't flatten your battery.
That's right. So no, that was going 100 odd miles an hour as a pillion on your dad's bike. You're not going to forget that in a hurry, are you?
Oh, mate, and obviously you can imagine 8 hangers cut down. I mean, I barely felt. We had to stop because every now and again you could hear it bottoming out, because obviously he's got the suspension set for him. And even though I was really skinny and small at the time, it's still obviously unnecessary weight on the back of this bike. Kept having to stop and tape up the rear light. And as a matter of fact, we just got over a border. We'd come over from Seville onto the Algarve, or Huelva, I can't remember which province we're in. But we got into this. We're coming down towards this petrol station, We see this guy on an English plated Sportster on the hard shoulder, like looks like he's had a skinful trying to ride this thing in a straight line.
Yeah.
And he pulls into the petrol station. It happened to be one of the lads from Backstreet Heroes. His handlebar mount had snapped on the Sportster, because obviously a lot of them are two-piece bars, aren't they? On some of
Yeah.
well, not, on some of them anyway. And the mount had snapped, and I ended up jumping over this fence and finding a couple of like presentable bits of twig that we could use, loaded tape and cable ties, and we managed to get him going again. And what he said the lads had left him from the night before. I think he'd been on session the night before, and they'd all fucked off with the support van and that. But again, like such a cool experience, you know. And I can't remember who it was, but it was one of the lads from it. Do you know, mate? It's 2009. I'm going back to 2009, but it was definitely one of the lads, because my dad goes to Faro quite a bit, and obviously being a Backstreet Hero fan and going to some of the rallies events in the UK from years before, he recognised who it was. And because they're generally there every year, aren't they? Them lads, they normally got a form of a booth or something that they're, you know, selling support gear and whatnot. But great event. Like, well, I mean, anyone to go to Faro it's incredible. I recommend it. But obviously, we're not here to talk about Faro. We're here to talk about your events. So, with regards to like, was it hard to get going again after the time off period?
What, COVID, you mean?
Yeah.
Not really, because it was like because I think we'd missed one major show and one smaller show, so we'd missed 2 or 3 events, I suppose. So financially, it was a challenge. But at that time, I managed to secure a sort of day job. All right. Because this is my living. I'm not doing this for fun or charity, unfortunately. We do support the charities, obviously the blood bikes and the air ambulance and the mental health bikers as well, charity. But at the end of the day, this has become my my job and my livelihood. So sticking in sort of, you know, 50 grand up front, hoping to get 60 back is a bit. I could probably do better in the casino, to be honest. But
wow.
So that's the sort of thing.
It's a big risk, isn't it?
It's a risk. It's a huge risk, but it's, you know, it's been going long enough now to gain some good sort of sponsors. We've got Harley Davidson on board with their experience tour in the April show. So they're coming along with their big truck and with some new bikes that they're launching and unveiling. Cheltenham Harley will be there with a showroom sort of thing. People will be able to book demo rides if they want to jump on a Harley and do a demo test ride through the Malvern Hills with the whole group. That's doable. Cool. Right, so we've got right from Harley Davidson right down to Herald Motorbikes.
Wow.
And Herald is a brilliant little company. They are going to be there with some little 125 trackers and 250 tracker bikes and stuff like that. And they're good sponsors as well. They're actually going to build a couple of kickback bikes, special kickback.
Oh, nice.
Which will be for sale and limited edition. So that'll be quite cool, having kickback on the tank and all that. They're going to be pretty.
Did you ever envision that? Did you envision that happening? You know, like that there'd be bikes being built to like support the kickback show, and
it's a dream, isn't it? It's sort of a dream, but it's to be able to support and get the support of Herald Motorcycles, because they're a real brilliant gang, proper sort of motorcycle enthusiast lovers who are building bikes. So they got, I think, my light's got out. So they're building these bikes. You know, these 125s are selling quite well for Herald, and I think that quite a lot of the people buying them are in their 40s. So those people sort of, you know, 20 years ago that didn't bother getting their test and got married and had kids after university or whatever, didn't get into motors, but always sort of fancied it, you know. In the 40s, they're now thinking, well, I can ride a 125. What's out there? And there's some quite cool little Tracker Bratty style bikes out there that we didn't have when we were nippers. But now in their 40s, these guys and girls, I think, are thinking, I could afford one of these. That's under £3,000. Little 125. It's ever so light. It's cheap on petrol, cheap to tax, cheap to insure, good fun to ride about. I'm going to get one. And so they're doing a fairly good business with middle-aged motorcycle fans that just fancy pootling about in a 125. Then where would you think that would be aimed at the sort of teenager, wouldn't you? But they know they're too busy.
You would have thought, yeah, you would have thought so. I mean, to be fair, like, I recently had Jonathan on from J Hole Moto, you know, based up in Rotherham, I believe, or Pontefract, and he was saying his bread and butter was initially CG 125s. You know, I mean, he was saying at one point he was booked up till he was like 8 months booked up building three you know, already paid for CG 125s. And
cool. Those little 125s, those especially the Hondas, are really sought after, and you can bratterize those to, you know, a treat. They look really good.
Oh yeah, I mean to be fair, like, even though I've got the ZX10 to bomb around on, and say bomb around on, you can't bomb around this average speed cameras where I live. So my first build that I'm actually doing for YouTube is I'm rebuilding my my Lex. I've got a Lex Moto 125, you know. So I built a bobber years back, and then basically I've suicide shift, foot clutch, and I'm redoing it again now. So now I'm doing hardtail. So I'm doing removing the struts, solid bars in there. I'm having my first attempt at cutting out the sides of the tank and scalloping the tank.
Oh yeah, cool. And they're going to make it as complicated as possible to ride.
Oh well, to be honest, mate, I actually did a whole year through winter as well on a suicide shift. So, and not only that, I mean, not only is it complicated, but I haven't got a nice pivot point, so it pivots on, you know, like short distance. I've just gone out and out ludicrous with a massive bar, you know what I mean? And the bar has got bends in it, and some people have gone, why is the bar all over the place? And I said to them, I was like, it's deliberate. Like, I had to put these bends in to be able to miss my knee as I shift up the box. And then the reason why the next bend is in, because if I didn't put the other bend in, the handle would be here. So every bend in it, as crazy as they look, is fully. But like, same again, the reason why I'm rebuilding that is, why not build a bike, like you said, cost what? I'm going to say £22. I think last time I looked for tax on a 125.
Yes, right. Yeah.
But for me to run my ZX10, it's the same price as running my car. So why am I going to go to the effort of dragging the bike out to not be able to get to work any more conveniently? Do you know what I mean? So at least with the 125, I know that at least I know whilst riding a bike to work, which I don't think anyone likes to ride a bike to work. Like my missus says, you always complain about not riding a bike, but you know, you could ride it to work. I'm like, it's not the same. You know, it's, you know, you're about to go do a 12-hour shift and the bike's sat outside. It's like, you know, but the 125s, I love them. Like I say quite a lot on my podcast, like people have asked me which one do I prefer, and I say the 125. I said the ZX10 it's hard work to, and then obviously, as you probably know, 80s chat bikes, they weren't smooth. You know, it catches and just wants to go. It's like riding an angry fucking two-stroke, but with a shitload of torque. It's, you know, it still goes like shit off a stick for an old 80s bike, but you know, it's all just good fun. I'd say, but then I'll go from building like a cafe racer / street fighter to building a 125 bobber. I mean, and the next one after that, I think I'm going to build the XJ 550, which will be kind of like a brat style, I think, you know. And then from that, I'll probably maybe cafe racer the 600 Bandit, because I do think at some point I'm gonna have to put clip-ons on something, but it's just the idea of putting clip-ons on a bike. Like
it is a strange one. I think the older you get, the less you prefer leaning right over with clip-ons, I've noticed. So that's why, you know, obviously the street fighter thing with the more upright stance is a more comfortable sort of ride. And if you're going to thrash a bike, you don't need clip-ons, do you? Really?
No. Oh
and
no.
and let you know, unless you're doing 100 ton up boys in the 60s around the North Circular, I don't know whether you wouldn't be able to do more than about 30, would you, around the North Circular these days? I don't know. So the idea, I suppose, of trying to increase the speed because you've got clip-ons is, I don't know. Is that going to happen? I don't know. I doubt it. Because of all the roundabouts, traffic lights, and potholes that we've got these days, you want super curly roads, don't you, to have good fun? And I think I personally feel safer with more upright a stance than calf racer bars, but they do look good.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
everybody's, it's personal opinion, isn't it? Every custom bike is different. There are no rules. You just get the rule box and chuck it away. Don't you? Just get the rule book, throw it away. There are no rules. It's up to you.
Well,
What you
and
want.
that's it. And that's literally like, that's kind of like, as I said to you before we went live, was the whole point of me setting up a YouTube channel was I want to build a bike my way with, and 100% like highlighting the fact that I can glue bits of metal together. I mean, I can glue them together. Then I'm not winning any awards on welding, but however, I built a whole subframe on my ZX10, and the only thing that I've had to re-weld was I'd made the mistake of not fully welding 2 lugs for my number plate. Everything else is I built,
Right.
I had Bush's machine to go from an alley frame to build a steel subframe. I got one of my mates is 6'4", about 20 odd stone. I welded it all together. I said, right, sit on that. I said, jump on the fucking thing. And he's looking at me like, he's one of my best mates, Polish mates. And he's like thinking, am I missing something between English and Polish? I was like, no, sit on it. I said, I want you to stand on pegs and I want you to fucking literally fucking bang yourself on subframe.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the seat's on it, so he's not going to hurt himself. And I said, well, if it holds 20 odd stone, and I went to the effort of using like 6mm plate and gas it in the corners up and everything, because the first time I've ever built a subframe. I mean, I used the original pickup points on the frame with the idea of, well, if Kawasaki designed it to take the weight stress in these 2 points, and I'm not going from a different place, then surely it's good to go. I mean, it sits about 4 inches higher than the original ZX10 because I bent the tubes upwards. And yeah, it's been like that. What's 5 years? Oh, well, I built it 5 years ago. It's been on the road for about 18 months, and it's fine. I mean, it's a fucking animal to ride. Like, trying to thing wants to sit up straight, and you go into a corner or whatnot. So same again. I certainly haven't improved the handling, but
That's not what it's about, though, is it? Really?
Oh, mate, and it fucking, you catch it in a certain. It's weird, like you come out of a corner, power it on, and the wind gets underneath it, and it just lifts it up like a fucking parachute.
Yeah.
And I'm there going, oh fuck, trying to fucking bring this thing back down. But yeah, no, that's it, and it's
got to be a thrill. You got to be, you've got to be scared a bit sometimes, and it's got to be a thrill and a laugh with your mates and exciting and all that, and you got to escape the world sometimes, and the best way to do that is to jump on your bike, and especially if you've built it yourself.
Yeah, no, that's it, and it's, and like you say, unfortunately now, like you say, you build things, and then everyone they're promoting people to put dash cams in and submit their footage, and they're using that as evidence. So you can't even, having a bike that'll do 200 mile an hour. What's the point?
Yeah.
Where are you going to use it apart from a racetrack?
Yeah, Elvington, places like that. So straight liners, all we really, I suppose, unless you're taking it to Germany down the autobahn. But
that's it.
Yeah. I think going, reasonable speed and getting there is the most important thing than going fast and maybe not getting there.
That's it. I think with regarding to like style wise, I think the Mexicans with the Chicano lowrider, I mean, they spend loads of money making them look cool, and they just do 5 mile an hour. They just plod down the street. I think that, and I think that's what's cool about like your shows is effectively you have these shows going where people can put all this effort in to building their bike and showcasing it in a show, and then knowing that they could effectively follow you around the country.
Yeah.
And just keep meeting new people at one of your shows. It's,
and I think it's quite good with the magazines that are left. That there's a good chance that their bike's going to get a photo shoot and get appeared in the magazine or online or whatever. They like that, and it's a good chance. Yeah, it's a free platform to promote what's being built, and especially with getting, the young builder awards, the woman builder awards. We used to do a budget I've run out of categories now because there's so many different kinds of customs. I've just run out. I think we've got 8 or 9 actually at the show this year. It's gone crazy, and I still haven't got enough because I've got scooters coming now as well.
Have
So
you?
yeah.
Wow.
So we've got some scooters coming and mopeds and all sorts of bloody stuff. But it's a free for all, to be honest. It'll be a good laugh. If people, by the way, out there, if you want to submit your bike, if you've got a custom bike or a rare, or it's a classic show as well. So any classics, anything that's not stock or not ordinary, you know, you want to bring it and showcase to the show, give us an email. It's on the website. Drop us an email with some pictures of your bike, and you get it, you know, showcased for the weekend, and get a free ticket as well.
Oh, that's awesome. And obviously, as you guys can see below, it's kickbackshow.com is where you'll be able to contact Lorne. And yeah, and obviously, and to be fair, I think I reached out to you through Instagram, but obviously with regards to submitting the bike, it's like you said, but obviously they can probably still get hold of you on Instagram, and you can
if
direct
they
them
just
to the right place
yeah,
as well.
if anybody out there wants to just Google Kickback Bike Show or Kickback whatever, they're going to come up with either the website, the Facebook, the Instagram, or whatever. There's so many forms of communication now, it's ridiculous. But they will find my email address, chuck a couple of photographs over to me with a brief description of the bike and all that malarkey, and we'll get you at the show, and you'll get a free ticket for the weekend and meet like-minded people.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And to be fair, like, I mean, we was talking off air. I was supposed to have I was supposed to have my bike at your show a couple of years back, and you know, so I've been following the show for a while, and obviously you do. We haven't actually spoke about this one, and I've told this to a few people abroad, and like, because you host a show in an old prison, don't you, as well?
Yeah, we've had it. It was once at Gloucester Prison a couple of years ago, but I got bollocking from the police and everybody because we had so many people trying to get into the prison because we wanted to have we had all the bikes on display in the prisons in the prison, and then bike parking inside the prison. Then we were full up after about half an hour. We had no more room, so everybody was parking their bikes around the area outside the prison, and all these bikes blocking off the bloody ambulance escape route. There's like a hospital around the back, and all these bikes had parked up, and the ambulance couldn't get out. So we got into deep shit for that. So I thought we better think about this. So there's a bigger and better prison at Shrewsbury, and we did the show there in November last year, and it was brilliant. It's a slightly bigger prison with more room. You've got to think about all the logistics, not just having the bikes on display. All right. So we got it for the whole day. The show opens at 10 o'clock. I'm there. We're all there at 6 in the morning in November in a prison.
That's not going to be warm.
It was pretty scary, to be honest, because I was the only one there for quite a while. It was a bit. So then all the bikes and exhibitors and everybody, they're all turning up at 6 in the morning. And we've only got 4 hours to get the whole display done, the whole showcase done. Then we open the doors. And of course, these are one of the things that the visitors don't realize is going on. They will come to the show at 10 o'clock and see all the bikes on display and all the exhibitors are there. And it's all the catering and it's all there and the bars open and whatnot. They don't realize that at 6 in the morning, we've been trying to get everybody in and then parked up and out and gone, ready for them. They don't realize that it takes 9 months to organize as well.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think we've got someone in the comments here that's just saying, I have been on the site, just sent some more updates. Yeah. So that's
cool.
That's cool. That's cool. And obviously, you know, like, I mean, first of all, another thing that's cool with that is like you have a show in November. I mean, who else, especially in the UK? To my knowledge, I don't think there's any other shows going on in November. And if there is, and anyone is watching, I do apologise, but
all right, well,
I don't.
Only one there is the big one at the NEC. The motorcycle that's in at the NEC. That was on at exactly the same time. Actually, it didn't have any effect on our event. It's a completely different sort of thing. So
I was going to say, I think it's different, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in the middle of November. So what we've also got then is 3 shows this year for Kickback. We've got the big one, 2-dayer at Malvern in April. On the website, you can find out how to get tickets and how to submit your bike and all that malarkey. Then we've got, and then at the end of May, the May bank holiday weekend, it's Kickback on track at Anglesey, which is a little island off Wales. People that live there couldn't get any further away from England if they tried. All right, so it's angled this fantastic Welsh island. There's a racetrack there, and we're part of the Classic Bike Track Days and the Welsh Motorcycle Festival. So again, on the website you can see how to, if you want to show off your custom bike, whatever it is, whether it's a chopper, a scooter, a calf racer, a bobber, a digger, a tracker, brat style, whatever it is, you can bring it to the show and you can take it round the 12 laps of the racetrack over the weekend. All right.
That's awesome.
It's a parade lap. You can't go sort of 180 mile an hour on the track. It's a parade lap with others, obviously. All right. But as long as the bike is roadworthy, and doesn't leak oil, so, because you can't have it.
So that rules out 80% of the bikes going, especially the Brit bikes.
Especially so there's no old Nortons or anything. No. But anyway, they do. So it's a classic bike track there. So all the bikes are classics anyway. I'm bringing a custom load there. So anybody with a custom bike that fancies them, the price is 90. I think it's 98 quid or something. But that's for awesome. That's for 12 laps of the track, 3 nights camping, and for 2 people as well. All right, and it includes entertainment on the Saturday night. So if anybody wants to do that, that's at the end of May. There's absolutely nothing else on at the end of May.
So that just makes sense. That's
and the third show, I don't know when we've got to wrap this up, but my tea's ready.
Whenever you're ready, mate.
It's all right. The third show this year is going to be on the 8th of September. Again, the details are on the website. 8th of September, a Sunday, and it's Kickback at Sammy Miller's Museum down in New Milton in Hampshire.
That's cool. Right?
And that's going to be custom bikes at Sammy Miller's, and I think it's going to be you can pay online or in advance or whatever, or on the gate, and it's cheaper than going to the museum generally, and you get kickback. And I think it's going to be about 600 bikes on display.
Wow!
All right, so
that's some good going. So
that's custom bikes, and of course all the exotic and rare classics that's in the museum. So the whole day you better see 600 bikes. You would never do it in a day, to be honest, but hard luck.
No, I can't imagine it. It takes some going, won't it?
Yeah.
But, we had somebody on Instagram's DL Cycle Fabs. He said it was a fantastic show at Shrewsbury Prison. It was cold though.
Yep, it was cold. But that's the drama of what we're supposed to do. We can't go. We can't heat the bloody place. It's going to be even colder in April. And I think DL Cycle, they're exhibiting at Malvern in a few weeks' time.
Are they exhibiting? Are they?
Yeah, they're one of the exhibitors.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. That is.
We've got a whole lot of exhibitors at Malvern. We've got sort of art going on. We've got parts, Cerakoting. We've got sort of dealerships. We've got custom builders. We've got sprayers. We've got Flaky Dave doing his pinstripe and spray airbrush displays. We've got it's all sorts of stuff. Just go on the website. There's a whole list of people there.
That's cool. And obviously, again, for those that have only just tuned in, kickbackshow.com. That's where you'll find out all the information. And obviously, drop him an email if you have got a bike finished in the UK and want to get it on display at one of his shows. So
if anybody wants, we've still got a few sort of trade spots there. If anybody's got a little custom business out there that they want to promote, you can get trade space for quite a good price at the show, where you can bring your bikes and you can promote your little business as well. That's not a problem. And what else is going on? And of course, if there's anybody out there with a classic bike, and if you belong to a classic bike club, we're giving away free classic bike stands as well. There's a whole load coming along anyway, but the classics will be in one hall, and the customs will be in. The classics are in one hall, the customs are in another, and in between, the outside areas where the stunt show is going to be.
And this is with regards to the show that's coming up in April.
This is the one that's coming up in April at Malvern. Yeah.
Awesome. That's cool. That's cool. I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't mind trying to get over to the show. It's just whether I can get the time off and get the money together as well.
Where's your base?
I'm actually, when you said about Elvington, I'm actually only a 20-minute drive from Elvington Airfield.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a long old way. So that'd be North Yorkshire, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm literally right in the middle of between York and Hull.
Bloody hell.
So I'm not originally from here, as you can probably tell.
You don't
my accent,
sound it, no.
No, originally other side of like Gatwick area, like Sussex,
Yeah.
Surrey, all around that way, and then obviously grew up in, spent most of my time in Spain before moving
And then
back
you
to the
decided
UK.
you've had enough of lovely weather, so I'll go and live in Hull.
Oh, mate, it's a lot. That's an ongoing. So I never intended to stay in the UK for this long. Obviously, my missus didn't want to go back when I wanted to go, and then obviously then we had the old joys of political decisions and whatnot, and and here we are.
Yeah,
Here we are, mate. Just trying to have a go at this, really. And I say it's going well. You know, lucky enough that most of you guys, a lot of you guys, want to sit and chat to me and chat about bikes, and that's very fortunate. So 33 episodes since September. It's going
good
well,
stuff.
really. It's
good.
going well. But yeah. So is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we end it? Like, say your dinner's getting ready, and that light bulb's probably gonna go pop at some point.
There's my wife there taking the dog for a walk now.
Oh, that's awesome.
There she goes.
That,
I think now I'm locked out, actually. Oh, no, not the keys. So no, I think that's it. To be honest, it's been lovely chatting to you. Thank you for giving us the time and all that. As I say, it's a truly independent show that we're putting on here. Really, we want to support anybody that's building bikes. We want to support kids getting into motorcycling somehow. It's, as I say, it's grassroots, dirty fingernail sort of event. It's, you know, it is what it is. It's your show. It's the bike builders show. It's nothing pretentious. We haven't got a fancy restaurant anywhere and all that sort of stuff. It is exactly what it is. And we love everybody for coming along, visiting, showing their bikes or whatever they do. They're all heroes.
No, that's it, and that exactly the same as what my podcast stands for. It's just to give everybody the chance to tell their story, and you know, generally speaking, once the podcasts have ended, people go, "Do you know what? It's like it's crazy to actually sit down and actually talk about what I've achieved over X amount of years." And it's you know, it's nice to have people say like, "I don't realize how much I've actually have done because I'm so busy doing it." You know?
Yeah.
It's but no, that's it then, mate. I think again, people want to get a ticket. Kickbackshow.com. You can see it below there. I put it in the old.
All the information's on the website there. It's got notice from all the. There's some logos and sponsors links on there. So we've got some lovely sponsors, people exhibiting as well, like Fast Tech Racing, Oily Rag, the Biker Company, Midlife Classics. I'm sure I'm forgetting. I'm not going to get told off tomorrow for not mentioning them. But thanks to everybody, all the sponsors.
Well, what we'll do is once we've ended the podcast, and that, if I get you to drop me a DM with everybody that you want me to mention, I'll tag everybody in the actual post above the live stream.
Sure.
So at least then it's, you know, at least then if you have forgot any, we can actually put them all in there, and I'll tag them all in so they'll also see that we've done the podcast, and whether they drop it in a storyline or whatever. You know, it would be, if they do, it's cool. If not, still, at least we've given them acknowledgement. You know.
Of course, brilliant. Okay, all right.
Well, awesome. I'll just end the live stream here, bud, and